Welcome to the deep dive.
Great to be here.
Today we're jumping into quantum computing and networking. It's moving fast. A lot of you have asked about it.
Yeah, definitely a hot topic.
And we're digging into some recent interviews with Niccolo de Masi. He's the CEO of IonQ. They're a big name in this space.
A definite front runner. And our mission today really is to cut through some of the hype,
Right.
Understand what quantum can actually do now, what's coming up next, especially beyond just like breaking Bitcoin.
Which we will get to.
Oh, yeah. And look at the security side too. National, economic, all based on what IonQ's chief is saying. What's real, what's maybe further out.
And it's interesting timing because IonQ just had positive earnings, reaffirmed their outlook for the year.
Which is significant, yeah.
Yeah.
Given some bumps in the road for the sector earlier,
Yep.
suggests real momentum.
Okay, so let's dive in. Where does IonQ actually sit in this whole quantum picture? What's their focus?
Well, they're definitely positioning themselves as a major force. The CEO calls them the biggest public company in the world in the quantum computing space.
Okay, bold claim.
And now, he adds, also in the quantum networking space. So, both sides of the coin.
Networking, too. Interesting.
Yeah, the big push now is commercialization, making this stuff usable, sellable, which leads straight into their idea of the quantum internet.
The quantum internet. Sounds ambitious. And they've been buying companies to help with that, haven't they? Seems strategic.
Oh, absolutely strategic.
Yeah.
Those recent acquisitions, LightSync, IDQ, Cubatech, they're crucial puzzle pieces.
Right. LightSync is Boston-based. What do they do?
They're experts in repeaters, think signal boosters, but for quantum signals. Essentially, if you want to send quantum information further than, say, 100 kilometers.
Ah, okay. Tackling the distance limit.
Precisely. And IDQ in Geneva, Cubatech in San Diego, they bring other bits, sensors, equipment needed for a robust network. It's about building the whole stack, ground to space even.
Ground to space.
Wow.
Wow. Okay, they're really assembling the infrastructure.
They are.
And that financial guidance you mentioned, better part of $100 million of GAAP revenue this year, beating Q1 hopes, that suggests people are actually paying for this now. It's not just R&D.
That's the key takeaway, I think.
Oh.
It shows there are real applications driving revenue today. That sets them apart, in a field that can sometimes feel very theoretical.
Which brings us neatly to the elephant in the room, encryption. The Bitcoin question, will quantum break it? The CEO's been pretty vocal about this, hasn't he?
He has, yeah, for a while now. He believes current encryption, the stuff behind Bitcoin, blockchain, but also standard things like RSA.
Which is everywhere online.
Exactly. He thinks it's fundamentally vulnerable, that powerful enough quantum computers will eventually break it. He even kind of joked about his company's chip being the one to do it.
Okay, so if quantum can break codes, how does a company like IonQ make money without being, the villain?
Right, good question.
Yeah.
And the answer lies in that quantum networking piece we mentioned.
Oh.
The opportunity, as they see it, is providing security using quantum methods. So it's code making, not just code breaking.
Secure communication that even quantum computers can't crack.
That's the idea. Building networks where the connections are inherently secure because of quantum physics, those acquisitions, they're building the hardware for that.
Right.
Repeaters, secure nodes, the whole infrastructure for quantum-safe communication.
So it's less about the end of encryption, more an evolution, moving to quantum-proof methods.
Exactly. The CEO is clear. Quantum-proof encryption is possible. So yeah, existing stuff might become vulnerable, but the future is likely shifting to new quantum-resistant cryptography, not a total security meltdown.
Okay, that's reassuring. Slightly. So moving past encryption is super important, but what else? What can these machines actually do today? What are the applications happening now?
Yeah, let's get practical. It's easy to talk theory. So fundamentally, you have qubits, right? The quantum version of a bit.
The unit of power.
Exactly. And quantum mechanics lets these qubits exist in multiple states at once superposition and get linked together entanglement. This lets them tackle incredibly complex problems. Problems with huge data sets, tons of variables, permutations, stuff that would choke even the biggest supercomputers today.
Like what kind of problems?
Think about trying to simulate exactly how a new drug molecule will interact with proteins in the body. Immensely complex. Or designing new materials atom by atom. Or optimizing, say, a massive logistics network.
Okay, so problems with lots of possibilities to check.
Precisely. Classical computers check them one after another, basically. Quantum computers can explore many possibilities simultaneously. It's a different way of calculating. Maybe think classical's flipping light switches one by one. Quantum is like having dimmer switches that can be partly on, partly off, and all interconnected, exploring the whole light configuration at once.
And IonQ is actually doing this stuff with partners now, not just talking about it.
Yes, that's the key. They have real partnerships, like with AstraZeneca.
Ooh, pharma giant.
Right, working on computational chemistry, drug design, trying to speed up discovering new medicines by simulating molecules much more accurately. Quantum is potentially great for that.
Makes sense. Any others?
Yeah, they're working with ANSYS on computer-aided engineering, using quantum for better simulations and designing complex systems. And with General Dynamics,
Defense contractor.
looking at things like fraud detection, finding anomalies in huge data sets. Quantum algorithms might spot patterns that classical methods miss.
That's a pretty wide range. Drug design, engineering, finance. How does this fit with all the AI buzz? Is this just super-powered AI?
The CEO frames it as the next leg of the stool for computing. You got CPUs, GPUs, and quantum is the next piece.
Complementary, not replacement.
Exactly. It could unlock new levels of AI by tackling computations that are impossible today. Think much more complex models, maybe new types of machine learning. It's about adding an exponential power boost for certain problems.
And IonQ feels they're actually delivering this now.
That's their claim. The CEO says their current systems have dozens of qubits on the way to hundreds. And importantly, he stresses, this is already enough to do useful stuff.
Stuff that generates revenue.
Stuff that generates revenue, exactly. He positions them as being ahead of the curve, suggesting some competitors are maybe years behind in getting to truly practical applications.
Which brings up the competition angle. This isn't happening in a vacuum. China, other countries, they're investing heavily too, right? National security must be a big factor here.
Absolutely. That's a huge dimension. The CEO directly addresses China's major investments and their proven progress, especially things like quantum key distribution from satellites.
Which sounds like secure communication from space.
It is. And IonQ's response, very focused on national and economic security for the U.S. and allied nations.
So their quantum networking push is partly a security play? Secure comms.
A big part of it, yes. Building secure quantum networks, including space-based systems for quantum key distribution. The CEO mentioned how vulnerable traditional satellite links can be. So they need quantum-level security there. And he mentioned partnerships with three-letter agencies.
Ah, so government involvement.
Clearly. It highlights how crucial private industry is in this whole national security picture for quantum. It's not just government labs anymore.
And it connects to those broader debates we hear about, like access to advanced chips, NVIDIA GPUs and things. Controlling computational power, quantum or classical, is becoming a real geopolitical issue.
Definitely seems that way. Nations see quantum as vital, strategically, for defense, for the economy. Which leads us to, well, the really hard parts of building this stuff.
Right. Qubits are famously fragile things, aren't they?
Yeah.
How does IonQ deal with errors, with scaling these machines up?
Yeah, qubit stability is a massive challenge for the whole field. IonQ's approach is based on trapped ions.
Trapped ions? How does that work, basically?
They use lasers to hold and manipulate individual charged atoms' ions in a vacuum. The CEO calls these naturally perfect qubits with very high fidelity, meaning they're quite stable and accurate to begin with.
Naturally perfect, so less need for error correction.
That's their big claim. They say they haven't needed error correction for what they've achieved so far, and they don't expect to need it for their next generation either, up to their AQ64 system.
AQ64, algorithmic qubits, their own metric.
Yeah, it's their measure of usable quantum power. And avoiding complex error correction, if true at scale, would be a huge advantage. Many other approaches are really grappling with that.
That is a big deal. What about the physical setup? We see pictures of other quantum computers with huge, complex refrigerators.
Right. The CEO emphasizes their systems are more efficient. No need for those massive dilution fridges, not the same huge space requirements, less power hungry compared to some other qubit types.
And they've been at this a while.
A long while. About 30 years, he says, tracing back to the founders' work in 1995. Plus, they've raised a lot of capital, around $1 billion. So a significant head start in terms of research and funding.
So the strategy seems to be use this stable ion trap tech, build useful systems now, get customers, generate revenue.
Get that ecosystem going,
Yeah.
Get customers locked in.
While also pushing the tech forward aggressively.
Exactly. Build a practical business today while racing towards more powerful machines tomorrow. Their stated goal is pretty clear. Be the 800-pound gorilla of quantum period. computing, networking, revenue, global reach.
Wow. Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive based on IonQ's perspective, what are the big takeaways?
Well, first, IonQ is clearly aiming for leadership in both quantum computing and this whole quantum networking idea. They see them as intertwined.
Right, the quantum internet.
Second, near-term applications are real and generating revenue now, moving beyond just theory or the encryption threat. Think drug discovery, material science, maybe finance.
And third, their specific technology choice tracked ions lets them claim advantages in stability and efficiency, potentially skipping complex error correction for now.
Which fuels their ambition to dominate commercially. And it all points to potential disruption across many industries, definitely including AI and security.
It really feels like things are accelerating, which leaves us with a final thought, maybe for you, the listener, to chew on.
Yeah, considering how fast quantum computing and networking are developing together, what happens next? Beyond just breaking codes or faster calculations, what kind of maybe unforeseen societal shifts or new technologies could emerge from this foundational change?
What does a world with a functioning quantum internet actually look like?
Exactly. It's definitely something to watch closely. The implications could be pretty profound.